So this has been a pretty exciting week for us as a community. We had our meeting last Sunday afternoon, and we had probably 8 people there, and the overwhelming message from people was that we're looking for community, and we're seeking each other out. We're seeking out relationship and connection, and not just to say hello to each other and see each other on Sundays, but people who are attracted to this place and to each other here in this space is we want deep connection. And in each of our gatherings here, so on Thursday at A Course in Miracles, and then afterwards when we have our book study, people decided we wanted to talk less about books and know more about each other. So without having to ask or suggest, people said, well, why do the second book study on Thursday? Let's learn about each other. I want to know who you are. I want to know whether you have children. Who's in your life? What's important to you? What do you do? What do you enjoy? Who are you really? Because we see each other on a daily basis, and we may not know each other still. But each of us here seems to be hungry for the other, for the deeper connection. We all have said that we want to belong to something. And I can't tell you how that does my heart good. It's something that I wanted, and that was my intention when I first came here. Before I even started my first Sunday, that was my first thought. That there would be a community of people who were engaged with each other and who were seeking each other out. That it was more than just some place to show up to on Sunday. And then Saturday at our book study, we'll be finished with our book this coming Saturday, and we decided we wanted to continue, and decided this time, starting in the month of July, we want to put into action the things we learned in this book. We want to talk about how to rise strong in our own lives and share our stories with each other and learn from each other. Hold each other accountable for being our best selves. So again, another group within our community wants to be connected. And you know what? That's what I'm hoping for the world now. Because we are in this frenetically paced existence with information being shot at us all day long, from our phones, our televisions, from the places we go. You can sit in a restaurant and there's a television on. And there's one thing on the screen and then information flowing across the bottom of the screen with more information. And people sitting, having a meal together on their phones, rather than connecting with each other. And so my prayer and my hope is that what's happening here is starting to happen out in the world. And I think those of us who are called to each other and this deeper connection with the people in our lives will be the light for others who want the same thing but are afraid to ask for it. And so I want you all to know that this is courageous to say, I want more connection. I want to know who you are and to open your heart and your mind to somebody else. Because we make ourselves vulnerable in that moment. And we've said, I want to belong to this community, to the energy that's here. I want to be one of you. I want to be part of the us that is being created here. What they're finding now, because our world is moving so quickly, and there's so much information, and we're getting so disconnected through our social media and our devices, that we as human beings are starving for connection. Some people are dying from it. They're dying emotionally, they're suffering mentally, and some people are choosing not to live anymore because they feel so disconnected. Rates of anxiety are skyrocketing. It's the #1 thing that's Googled now. How to deal with anxiety. Anxiety disorders is now the #1 mental illness. And what researchers are finding is that because everything is getting so electronic and we're separating from each other, that we're losing our humanity, our need for human connection, our need for each other. You know, when man first started to walk this earth, we gathered in tribes because that's how we could survive better. It guaranteed our survival, or raised the likelihood that we would survive physically. And so it's in our DNA to want to be in tribes, to be in community, to want each other. And when we don't get that, we suffer. And most of the time, we don't know what we're suffering from. We're just aching for something. I know as I've lost more family members that I ache. I ache. And what I want is connection. I want people to hug. I want people to look me in the eye and say hello and care about what I've just said, about how I am. And I think at some level each of us is aching for that, but we're not all ready to ask for it. We're not all ready to open our arms and say, I need you. I need somebody. And so those of us who know, those of us who have a little bit more practice asking for it, each of us in this room, we need to be the light of connection. We need to continue to extend ourselves within this community and in our larger communities. It's in our relationship with each other that we find our greatest teachers. That we learn more about who we are and what we are. We get to experience the God that we are in each other, looking back at us, hugging us, caring about us, checking on us, touching us. And just like the song, experience the being of every being. I was just reading something earlier this week. I can't remember offhand what it was, but it was talking about, actually it was in a book about metaphysics, is that there's energy in everything. And so you can connect to that energy by being aware of it and recognizing it. recognizing your connection. We are separated from nothing. And so we can find that connection that we starve for, that we ache for so much, in everyone. Even those that we thought we would never connect to or don't want to connect to. We talk about this often. That if we'll only see every other person as one with us, whether we like them or not, love them or not, understand them or not, that we get to connect with another part of us in them. That, I believe, is what the world is starving for right now. With all the divisiveness in this country and around this planet, I was reading Richard Rohr's meditation this morning, and it talked about vocation. And that word comes from its Latin root, which means a calling, which may have nothing to do with the work that you do, the job that you go to. But that it might have to do with what we're called to be as people, and that we're called to be the light and to extend the light. To be the light of love and connection. I'm so excited about what's happening here. And it fills my heart. What if what's happening here was also happening across the planet? What if the feeling of oneness that we had in this room when we meditated together this morning, what if that radiated across the planet? How would our lives change? What would life look like or feel like? All that feeling of anxiety and stress and strife would disappear. All the pain that people feel would dissipate. We have the power to make that happen, because we're making it happen here. And there are no boundaries with love and light. It spreads wherever we direct it and intend for it to be. So I reworked things a little bit in this room after we talked about community. So I changed the chairs a little bit so they're more in a semicircle. And I changed them so that hopefully you could see each other as we're here and as we talk and converse sometimes during the message, so that you can look at each other, connect with each other, smile at each other, know that there's somebody who might be emotional or crying. So after I put the chairs together, I went and sat in just about every chair and looked around to see what I could see. And I thought of each of you as I did that. And I moved the candle holder, that's the circle of friends that was out there, and brought it in here. Because as we meet together and talk about what we want to create here, it's just happening. The community is growing. And we're starting to define what Unity Spiritual Center in Saxe is about. And this just spoke to me. Does it get any better than that? I don't know. I'm so moved by each of you. Each of you is just so important to this community and to life itself. I hope you know how treasured you are and how important you are in this day and time on this planet. And in this day and time, in this very community, we are changing each other's lives. We are lifting each other. We are greater than the sum of our parts. So I want to thank you for your courage and your openness and your willingness to connect, because not everybody else is. And it's our calling, I believe, as a loving community to be that extension to people. And to say that there is love in this world, that there is peace in this world, and all can be well with my soul, with our soul, our individual souls, and the soul that is humanity. And that is every living being. That is every rock and tree and drop of water, every breath of air. Yeah, I've got goosebumps thinking about it. So continue to be the light that you are. And let whatever it is that you're still holding back, let it go. We need you, and the world needs you. Every person in this room needs you. And every person on this planet needs you to be the light. Let's take this into meditation.